Hey everyone, welcome back into the Huskies Unleashed podcast sponsored by Innovation Federal Credit Union. Darnell and Elliot join you here back again today for our first podcast in February. Elliot, how have you been?
I've been good, yeah. It's an exciting time right now, playoffs coming up, final stretches, so yeah, I'm good. How about you?
Yeah, same here. I mean, feels like quite some time since we've been back together here, and yeah, it's I think it'll be nice to talk sports. Like you said, it's exciting with the playoffs right around the corner. So why don't we go ahead and get started with some updates on volleyball. Not in action this weekend, but had a pretty good weekend, or a really good weekend last week against UBCO Heat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both teams coming away with 2 wins. So, those are obviously important as you head into the playoffs, both in the standings and just for the team. So, they're both looking pretty strong heading into their final weekend, as you mentioned, on the bye this weekend, and they're at Trinity Western following week before the postseason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'd say, they've looked really good at home. I think especially our women's team, as they kind of have gotten used to playing with each other. Really, they're a team that might surprise some people in the playoffs. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they maybe missed out on some wins early in the season, but as you mentioned, they've more playing time together, sort of brought that cohesion into the team, and I think they'll be definitely dangerous in the playoffs. Depending on where they finish, we could be seeing them at home, or they could be on the road taking on one of the top teams. But yeah, it'll be really exciting to see how they play in those playoffs.
For sure. And then we have on the men's side, don't sleep on them because they're the number 7th ranked team in the country, according to the weekly U Sports Top 10 polls. What have you seen from them this season?
I think they've been just really consistent throughout the year. They've been able to take on really good teams, as well as, take care of business when they need to. And I think you've also seen a few guys enter the lineup, so they've kind of showcased that depth as well, which I think will be really important as they head into the postseason, especially as one of the top teams in Canada West. You want to make sure, especially in that first round, that you can kind of take care of business against a lesser team and then go from there.
For sure, yeah, I completely agree. They're a team that does like really every part of the game well. Like they attack well, and they also have all those big bodies they could throw up at the net to block, and then really good defensively, lots of hustles. So, yeah, I think they're right in the mix with the top teams there. Up next. What do we got up next?
Why don't we take a look at men's hockey? They got a big matchup this weekend. They're on the road in Vancouver. It's a matchup of the number 2 ranked team versus number 4 ranked team in the country as they take on the UBC Thunderbirds. Crucial game, not only for the fact that it's a quality opponent, and as we mentioned, you're coming down to the wire here in the regular season, but they're still in a fight for both the top seed in the conference as well as their division. So you want to get that bye and maybe not have to play a quarterfinal round in a condensed playoffs that is the Canada West postseason.
Yeah, I think with hockey, I think Saskatchewan does have the depth, so no matter how it plays out, I think they'll be okay. But yeah, it's a grind. It's such a physical. These games are really physical. Fighting's not allowed, obviously, in Canada West, but there's a number of times where these games get really intense.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, you only get to see. This is the only time they'll see UBC all year, right?
Yeah, until the potential finals.
So yeah, it's also a good opportunity, to play your opponent, get some tape out there, and see how you match up. And yeah, give the coaches a little bit of opportunity there too. So
for sure too. Yeah, I think again, like getting that bye through the quarterfinals right to the semifinals, especially for a team that has nationals aspirations, is huge. You mentioned the grind of it, and just adding that extra week of nationals, especially with the condensed games in just a few days. I think that's a big thing for really anybody in esports hockey.
So what is the path to the 1 seed?
Path to the 1 seed is so right now square on points with the Alberta Golden Bears, who are for first in the division. We need 5 points in our last 4 games. We have 2 games in hand over Alberta, and that would give us the division and the bye. And because of where things are at in the Western Division with UBC and Mount Royal at the top of that one, that would also mean we have home ice advantage through the playoffs. We'd be the number 1 team in the conference. So it's pretty simple. 5 points in 4 games.
Right. So essentially, if you kind of look at it, you think, even if you don't come out with even a win this weekend, as long as you push 1 game to overtime, there's still a chance that 1 seed's still in play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have sort of, I guess you could say 1.5 games of leeway where you can drop 1 and go to overtime in 1, but you still need a minimum 2 wins or 3 wins ideally, but it would get it done. But yeah,
for sure. Sounds good. Or you could also do one win and 3 which would not be ideal, but
but you definitely need to stay ahead of Alberta in points, because they have we're tied them in virtually everything except score head to head.
Right.
We're -1 in our 6-game series with them this regular season, so got to finish ahead of them in points.
No doubt.
All right, you want to take a look at how about track and field?
Sure, yeah. Number of outstanding performances, a couple of record-breaking performances from the weekend. Can you share with us the athletes that did that?
Yeah, like you said, crazy weekend for them. Most of these athletes that had these record-breaking performances, they were actually at Penn State, the Penn State National Open. It's the only U.S. meet that the Huskies will go to or send athletes to all season this year. But it was unsurprisingly, Avery Pearson, who kind of led the way there. She, in the 600 meter, she improved on the 600 meter program record she already owns, set a provincial record, and ran the second fastest time in Canadian track field history. So
that is unbelievable. Congrats, Avery.
Pretty mind-blowing stuff there. And then on the men's side, from a rookie, Michael Huskie, in the 600 meter, he ran the 3rd fastest time in program history and set a U20 Canadian record. So pretty unbelievable stuff from the Huskies in Penn State there.
Yeah, maybe we have to go run in Pennsylvania every weekend. That might be the trick.
It might be, yeah. I don't know if it's the track there or if it's the competition, what it is, but yeah, there were several other athletes down there too who had really strong performances, but obviously hard to not highlight the records.
yeah, of course. That's a good point you make though, because a lot of times in track and field, especially for someone like an Avery, Michael obviously just starting out in his Husky career, but when you're at that level and you have someone who's like pushing you on the track and you're competing with, usually that's when you will perform your best as well.
For sure, yeah, and you'll notice going through some of the results of that meet as well that there's a few other programs across Canada that are sending their top athletes as well. So not only do you get that from the NCAA portion of the competition there, but also you get to kind of gauge yourself against some non-Canada West teams that you don't see often during the regular season.
So some U Sports scouting.
Yeah, exactly. I think if I remember correctly, Western and Guelph were the big ones that were there. I think there might have been a couple Windsor athletes as well, so maybe some OUA schools, but yeah.
For sure. I don't think we can go a podcast without getting a Guelph shout out.
What? Shout out? I have no allegiances. All right, let's couple more teams to go over. Let's finish it up, or not finish it off, but let's shift to another championship sport with wrestling. No action recently. There had been a couple weeks out since their last action at the Lethbridge Open, but the next time that you'll hear from us will be at post Canada West Championships, which are set to take place here in Education Gymnasium.
That's correct.
Saturday, February 15th.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, so Saturday, February 15th, Education Gym. Things starting at 11 a.m. Your Huskies are on mat number 1 the entire way. It'll be similar format to the duels. So it'll be 2 mats. And they'll have a spotlight on each mat. There'll be a separate stream for each mat. So if you're, wanting to check out just the Huskies, then mat 1. If you want to check out the other mats, then there's another stream for that. But yeah, I think, they've been pretty much preparing, getting ready for this event. There's a number of athletes who have had strong performances, should be medal favorites. I'm thinking, Sierra Mullen, Drake Buechler, to name a couple. But I think overall, from the team perspective, we're right in the mix for both men's and women's, and we'll probably want to push to try and get that gold medal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's been an interesting season. Looking at some of the results where there have been times where certain teams are jumping up to the top spot in overall team standings at meets, and we've had really strong weekends, and so it's kind of hard to gauge exactly who maybe is the favorite going into the championships.
Yeah, and it's one of those sports just like track and field where, hey, it could be anyone's day, so you don't ever want to take any of your opponents lightly. And yeah, you could have some really big performances from people you don't expect, and that could be what puts you over the top on the day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'll be exciting to watch that here at the University of Saskatchewan. Now let's close things out. One more team to look at. We got a huge basketball weekend coming up, but just to kind of recap some recent results, both teams actually swept MacEwan this past weekend on the road, which was for the men's basketball team pretty big, picking up their second and third wins of the season, first weekend sweep of the season. So they moved to 3-13 and still actually have an outside shot of getting into the playoffs. They need a little bit of help and need to win out, but anything's possible, especially with the matchups they got left.
Oh yeah, it's actually not as difficult as, they don't need as much as help. I'm not gonna say as difficult, but they don't need as much help as one might think. The two teams they have to pass, coincidentally, they are playing in the final 2 weeks of the season. So it looks like the top 7 in each conference make the playoffs. 7 doing quick count. That puts, is it Regina in the final spot right now?
Yes, yeah, I believe that's right.
Yeah, so Regina's at 6-10, home and home this weekend. So if, they get 2 wins there, that really shakes things up. Brandon, I'm not sure who they play, but
they play Winnipeg this week, or we play them.
Okay, so Winnipeg 13-3.
Yeah.
Although the Huskies did just give them a couple close games.
Yeah.
For at least competitive games.
Yes, no, absolutely.
So, anything can really happen in Canada West basketball, but hey, I really liked, we've looked a lot better recently. I think teams starting to gel a bit more, got some players back from the IR. And yeah, I think with this U Prairie Challenge and our big event, which History Happens Now, which we'll talk about more shortly, I think there's just going to be so much energy in the building. So if they get that 1 win in Regina, I like our odds.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think it comes down to that road game for sure, because it'll be hard not to get a boost from the home crowd on Saturday. Now they're just looking over at the women's. Again, they swept a pair of decisive victories against the Griffins, both around 50 points, 60 points. It's hard to keep track of how much they win by these days. But more importantly, they won on Saturday, giving head coach Lisa Tomaitis her 345th career victory, which set a new Canada West women's basketball wins record.
Yeah, just amazing stuff from Lisa. I personally am it sometimes gets me. I'm like, oh, we actually get to work with her and just kind of be around her, just like someone who has that storied of a career and is still doing it at an all-time level. It's awesome to watch.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Yeah, looking back at some of the season histories over the years, I think they've had a handful maybe losing seasons, and it's just, you look at it's 17, 18, 19 win seasons for the last decade plus. So it's pretty incredible to have that kind of consistency in youth sports basketball, and to your point, really incredible for us to be able to witness that firsthand.
And pretty much since the time she's got here, like she's made that impact on the program. And yeah, if you look at the Huskies record before she got here and compared to now, it's night and day. So yeah, I mean, international Olympic level coach is something you can't take for granted. And she's got her team playing really well. Looking right now through some of the stats here too, Gage Grassick, 16.8 points per game, and she's probably coming out of the game early at times too. Primo's, she's leading in field goal percentage, 57%.
She actually leads the country in field goal percentage too. Yeah, pretty impressive.
Yeah, and Gage shooting at 40% from beyond the arc too. So
yeah, incredible. Yeah, I think you mentioned Gage. Looking at some of the stats actually for this weekend's matchup with Regina, her and Jade Belmore, plays for the Cougars. They both rank within the top 3 in almost every stat you could think of in Canada West. So it'll be really exciting to watch them go head to head this weekend. Two of the top players in the conference, and I think I might correct me. I don't know if I'm 100% on this, but I believe Jade won the MVP last year in Canada West. So it'll be, very exciting matchup just individually, much less. And then you look at the teams as a whole and what's at stake it's a awesome weekend to watch basketball.
True. Plus, the U Prairie, Saskatchewan U Prairie Challenge going on. There's always brings something more to it. So yeah, must see TV for sure.
For sure. Yeah. And talking about, standings and seeding a little bit when it comes to women's basketball. They need to keep winning and stay on pace with Alberta for the number 1 seed. Right now we're tied at 14-2 with them. If we remain that way, still works in our favor as we swept them in the season series. So we would get the number 1 overall seed in the Prairie Division, which is actually also the number 1 seed in the conference this year with how the new playoff format works.
Interesting.
So huge to keep that going and potentially for another team with championship aspirations host one of those championships at our home facilities.
For sure. So even the fact that we're tied with UBC, it doesn't matter in terms of standings. Okay,
number 1 seed overall goes to whoever's first in the Prairie. So yeah, interesting format, but it could work out heavily in our favor this year.
We're not complaining this year. We'll complain next year.
No, not at all. And as you mentioned this weekend, there's a lot going on Saturday. You're debuting a t-shirt that we made for this weekend. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. Let's just pause here and then we'll jump back into that. Just give a second to bring the t-shirt in.
Huskies Unleashed is brought to you by Innovation Federal Credit Union. Open a no-fee bank account and earn $50. Simply enter the promo code Husky50 when applying. Save about $11 a month, enjoy free and unlimited Interact e-transfers, and discover a lifelong bank account that's still free when you're done school. Okay, welcome back into the Huskies Unleashed podcast. As we were saying, it's a big weekend coming up at basketball and our home games on Saturday. There's a lot going on. Darnell, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, for sure. So kind of concept we've been doing this year. I've been on a part of the team that's put together the Black History Month kind of promo for this year. It's really cool. The theme throughout the month is History Happens Now. So really what that's all about is focusing on like celebrating the achievements of our student athletes, both on and off the field of play, our Black student athletes and coaches as well. And really just, we want to reinforce the idea that, we're still breaking down barriers. There's still a ways to go. Obviously, there's been lots of work done in the past, but what people are doing right now can have an impact on that next generation. So that's really, I guess, the focus of the month. And yeah, this Saturday is a really cool game. Tickets are almost sold out. So if you haven't got the chance to get one yet, I'd encourage you to get one as soon as you can if you would like a seat. That's Saturday's game. On both basketball games, there's going to be a huge event here, aptly named History Happens Now, at the basketball game. So it's going to be a celebration of Black culture, Black history, and there's going to be a lot of performances. So there's going to be live music between each games. There's actually going to be a fashion show featuring Masala Models, a local Black modeling company, showing off some local designers. There's going to be art around the upper concourse, as well as Great Western sampling. So there's really no reason like not to come to this game. It's going to be so much fun. And yeah, tickets are always a good price. What else can I say about the event? If you can't come in person, we got some fun stuff planned for the broadcast as well. So for the women's game, I'm going to be doing the play-by-play, and I'll be joined by actually Mike Dodig, Andy Dodig's dad, to talk about her kind of career there, senior night. He's done some broadcasting before, so it should be good to get a little bit of insight there. And then for our men's game, we've got a bit of a bigger plan tied in more so to that Black History Month kind of event. So we've got Fiseo Moibi from men's basketball alumni, as well as Chan DeSeaman stopping by to join me in the booth, and then Kyle Conte from Husky football to talk a bit about their team as well. So it should be a good time. I'm excited for it. And yeah,
that's awesome. I think everybody's looking forward to it. It's been really cool to see all of it, how it's all built up to the weekend. And now that we're finally kind of here, it'll be exciting to be a part of it. Now, another part of that is the t-shirts that you led the design in. You're wearing one now. We got another one. Why don't you describe what kind of went into this a little bit?
Yeah, so it's a really cool concept. Thanks, Elliot, for holding that up. But yeah, so our logo done up with the colors of Black History Month. Then for the concept here, basically we wanted to show how the words that kind of connect what we think, what the group kind of thought Black history was. But one of the really cool things is we had all of the athletes that we came in to do the interviews with us. We actually got them to think about a word that they felt really resonated with them for Black History Month and just about Black culture in general. So that's what makes up these words here. So it's really cool, really special that, it connects to our athletes. These will be on sale at the game. You also see our men's basketball team sporting them. And then kind of just the other design, I'll nerd out here a bit on the design, but just the fact that, it could also be read as like Black history is, or just Black is, kind of just the positioning of the history off to the side, further reinforcing that concept of history is also in the present. And then if we want to do a little flip, then you got the a little bit of extra pizzazz on the back. So it's pretty cool. Happy it all came together, and also thankful for the support from the university, from Central University, and everyone around here, around Husky Athletics as well. I mean, it's a whole team effort, so everyone helped it bring it together.
Yeah, it's awesome, and now you finally get to put it out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
And now I think we have a special edition, I guess, of our original 16 Behind the Glass this week, right?
Yeah, that's right. So for this week of Behind the Glass, you've been seeing some kind of more short form content for Black History Month, either on Canada West TV or our social accounts. So we're going to give you a look behind the glass and some more of those conversations that came during those interviews.
All right. Well, let's send it over to those.
Sounds good. Enjoy.
I come from a family that really believes in perseverance. The thing we emphasize on hard work, and something that we understand, even though you might not be born into a position where you might have all the opportunities, with hard work, you're able to get there. My dad used to always tell me that hard work beats talent, and that was something that I kind of didn't understand for a long time. But I think over the course of my track career, I realized that with the hard work plus the talent, it can take you so much more farther than just having that talent on its own. My culture also really emphasizes discipline and putting in that work even when no one else is. And growing up, I was always told I have to do 10%, 110% more than everyone else. So that emphasis that if you're going to do something, you have to do it to the very best of your ability. So yeah.
I think honestly, like my cousins back home, like Steven and Cephas, they kind of got me into sports. Competitive side of everything has always been me. You know, as a kid, it's like I would race my brother to the car just so I could win, and you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. I've always been competitive. My parents weren't really into sports, just like being immigrants and coming over and not knowing what sports offers and what you can get. I remember I asked my mom to play basketball when I was young, and she said no, like sports are for the devil. You know what I'm saying? Just being like religious African mom, not knowing. And so it wasn't until someone in my church came up to her and told her I should join basketball. It was a Friday night basketball through Athletes in Action. It's like now I just want to be the best I can be and work hard to get to the highest level that I can be at.
Where I'm from, it's a longer story. I've lived in like 14 different countries. So my dad's job, because he worked in the oil and gas field. So essentially, like sometimes we would live in places for like 3 to 6 months, and then we'd have to pack up all our stuff and leave. Having to adjust and make new friends all the time, you know, but like for me, that was the norm, right? And like having to be in a different environment, background, you know, be around different cultures. So I was grateful to be exposed to a lot, and it helped me shape me to be the person I am today. I've been exposed to all these different aspects of life, and then having to adjust to certain cultures and environments, and then, you know, also like having people who are like me in the sense of having to move around and bounce around in different places. So there's a lot of similarities with a lot of people and a lot of differences that were new to me as well, and was a great eye-opening experience.
I was born in Ethiopia in 2004, and I was adopted to Canada in 2007 when I was 3 years old. I was adopted with my 2 older siblings, Seganesh and Tasute. Having my older siblings there was a good part for my childhood to see role models that are, you know, that look like me and that have the same experience as I do. So I always looked up to them. They were pillars for me. They also played soccer, and my dad, who adopted me, played soccer as well. So soccer was always something I did growing up. I think having that connection to my siblings and my dad with something that was separate from us, which was sport, helps you create things in common with those around you, and it helped me with my community in Warman, where I lived. It helps kind of create a fair and equal spot that everyone can be in. So there's a lot of different cultures and communities within sports, but we're all playing something that's bigger than us. So I think that's a really big part of my childhood and shaped me into like who I am today.
It really started with my uncles. My uncles introduced me to the sport of football, and 2 of them right now play professionally. If it wasn't for my Uncle Beloy, who really introduced my Uncle Bo, who really introduced my Uncle Nelson, then I wouldn't probably be playing this sport right now. So I feel like all of them had a pretty strong impact on me growing up and playing the sport that I'm playing now. They both play on defense. Bo is a linebacker and Nelson's a DB. We've never like officially gone one-on-one. Maybe a couple times, like if we trained for fun, but you know, maybe one day I'll play against him and then we go one-on-one for real.
Basketball is one of the outlets that helped me form my confidence now and also let me know that I do belong. Another big factor in that was my mother. She's a single mother from Africa who didn't have any education, so when she came here, she had to grind. She had to scrape for pennies just so she can put food on the table for me, and a lot of that is still instilled in me to this day, and that's why I look up to her a lot and why I also work so hard.
Growing up in an African household, you grew up a certain type of way. Like your parents made so many sacrifices, and the biggest sacrifice is coming from a whole different continent. You know, you kind of feel like this sense like you gotta owe them a good career. You gotta owe them, you know, your best efforts in whatever that you do because they've sacrificed so much for you. It's a lot of pressure for sure, but then the little amount of effort that you put in, it means the world to them just because, you know, they came from so far. Growing up in Montreal is like a melting pot of different cultures and ethnicities, and, you know, you kind of get a very broad view of like the outside world, I would say. You're so accustomed to seeing different people and living different lifestyles and seeing different cultures that, you know, you kind of are not really surprised when you go somewhere new. It's kind of like normal almost, I would say. I grew up in a neighborhood where there wasn't really much opportunity outside of like just being an athlete. So you kind of have that chip on your shoulder growing up, and you kind of have to be a little gritty. So for me personally, that chip, that grittiness, that wanting to be successful in whatever sport you want to play, it was kind of like, you know, it's kind of like a rite of passage almost. So yeah, that's about it.
I was born into a white, predominantly family. That's all I knew for a while. And then when I entered sports, that's when I really started to meet people like me and learn about my background because of them telling their stories and me wanting to know more about myself. So meeting my friends and really getting an understanding of who I was really driven through sports. You're kind of looked at differently from both sides. Like, you're half and half, right? So you're not full. So it's like learning to be like grateful of who you are and like learn the benefits that come with it so that you can really show other people that are like you that it's like, okay, you could pave the way almost.